I want you to imagine a time when you were a kid. You're at a bowling alley and you've just thrown out either the best or maybe even the worst bowl of your life. Regardless of the outcome, you look up at the scoring screen and you see the strangest animation play. I think it's no stretch to say that we've all seen one of these. Bowling alleys aren't exactly billion-dollar establishments, so they can't really afford top-notch animations. But what I'm getting at here is the feeling they give off. The term is surrealism. Surreal, marked by the intense, irrational reality of a dream. And this folds into the bowling alley animations. Did you ever wonder what kind of world they lived in? How their strange realm functions? Well, I imagine that if you were to be transported into one of these worlds, it would be much like the place that you go to in Zeno Clash. I'm good at transitions. Zeno Clash is a surreal beat-em-up game that follows a man named Gat as he's hunted down by his estranged family, and through the game Gat travels through the world of Xenozoic, seeking safe harbor. The game was released in 2009 and received favorable reviews, although the game didn't pick up a huge amount of attention. Personally, I picked up the game because I was on a bit of a quest to own every Source game on Steam, but what I found in the game really hit me with a nostalgia I couldn't place. A nostalgia I hadn't felt for a very long time, and it took some thinking before I realized what it was. It was bowling alleys and their strange animations. Playing this game kind of reminded me of the good times I had as a kid, and that's why I'm making this video. I wanted to share it with you guys and see if it had the same effect on you. So the game starts with a bit of a strange flashback. As we're lying on the ground, we're transported into a sort of dream state where an orc-looking person talks to us. He says that he trained us and gives us a refresher in our skills. Now this section acts as a tutorial for fighting, and it's all what you would expect. You have your punches, your kicks, light combos, heavy combos, counter-attacks, but the game really does weave them all together in a way that makes them feel all really smooth to play, or at least as smooth as a system running on the Source engine can run. Waking up, Gat GTFOs and runs to the outskirts of Houston. That's the name of the main city in Xenozoic, by the way, and we meet Deidre.
Gat, I don't know why you did it. Father, mother's children are already coming. Are you listening? Gat!
I'm not really sure how she knows Gat, but she seems like she wants to help us. Side note, does anyone else think that Gat sounds like Adam Jensen from Deus Ex?
If you stay with me, they might hunt you down too.
I never asked for this.
I checked, by the way, completely different guys. Weird, hey? Anyway, Deidre begins trying to get the gate open, and while she does that, we have to fend off Father Mother's children in our first real fight.
We'll eat your butter and toughen your skull!
I don't even know where to start with you. I mean, do you even know who you're talking to? Do you have any idea who I am? Basically, kind of a big deal.
After beating the ever-loving shit out of the family, Gat is able to get under the gate but faints again. And this time we're transported to the training arena from before, and we are given a lesson on using firearms and explosives. I really like the weapons in this game because it just feels like it tells us a bit more about the world. You have dual pistols, the rifle, the crossbow, the grenade launcher. Or what I love about it is how they look cobbled together, made from scrap and bones. Like, all of this stuff, you get the feeling is just barely working. I mean, the ammunition they load into these things is literally just a metal ball, so we're not dealing with anything too high caliber. Waking up, we have to fend off the family once again, but this time we have the edge of firearm knowledge. This fight also acts as a bit of a loose tutorial for fighting with firearms too, because as I mentioned before, these guns aren't very effective. They don't do high damage and it takes a dog's age to reload, plus if you get hit by an enemy, you just straight up drop the thing. So this whole fight really teaches the player when to use guns and when to go hand to hand. After beating Father Mother's forces, Gat has a bit of a sad boy moment and tells Deidre that he's planning to wait on the outskirts until the family finds him. Deidre, not being happy with this, encourages Gat to run away with her and try find a safe place outside of Houston. Gat agrees, and thus our journey begins properly.
I'm glad you came, Deidre. Seems now it's my turn to follow you.
Something I really like about this game is that the loading screen takes the form of a map that gets more and more filled out as Gat and Deidre travel the world, and it does make you feel like you're actually exploring this entire world that you're running around in. And this whole next area really gives you time to just soak up the atmosphere of the world we're in, with the only enemies we encounter here really being crabs and wrathbirds. Oh yeah, and while I was editing this video, I was wondering why I liked this specific area so much, and that's when I realized it. This is a picture of a place from my hometown that I used to go a lot when I was a kid, and this is the level we're in. There might be a connection? I don't know. After punching some giant birds in the face, Gat and Deidre make it to the forest where we meet a corwid. And what's a corwid, you might ask? Well, I'll let Gat explain.
One of them was Erminia. Erminia peed on herself and starved to death anonymously. And that is what Erminia did, because corwids are not slaves of their needs, of eating or sleeping. There was also Gabel. Gabel ate people, and that's just what he had to do. The corwids are not slaves to morality or common sense.
Yeah, they're pretty much insane people who give so little of a shit that they do whatever they want. Gat reveals that he was until very recently a corwid as well, and we play through a flashback that takes place about a month before the game. In the flashback, we fight through a ton of corwids because I guess through corwid logic, Gat just felt like he had to beat up all the corwids in the forest, and I don't know.
So, if I were like Anamasta, I would have let Gabel eat me. But I didn't feel I had to be eaten.
Although we do learn of an interesting corwid while in this forest that's named Oxometer, and all Oxometer does is walk in a straight line, something we'll get back to soon. A lot of this forest section takes place in the flashback as Gat tells his story, so it makes it one of the most story-sparse parts in the game, just because it's all in the past, and I don't really think Gat's time as a corwid affected him too much when you look at his overall character in the story. But towards the end of the section, we do meet a corwid that may be familiar to you all. Gat tells Deidre the story of Metamorph, the one who trained Gat to fight and the ghost that gave us the tutorial mission. In the flashback, Gat is having his final trial with Metamorph, and that final trial is to beat Metamorph. And since I'm such a Zeno Clash prodigy, I beat this guy's ass. But you know those games where there are fights that you are just meant to lose? Well yeah, it turns out this one is one of them, and it's bullshit. This actually happens so many times in this game, it's kind of ridiculous.
Good. Now you are ready.
Wait!
What? No, dude!
I beat you!
But with our training complete, I guess Metamorph sees no reason to keep on living and blows himself up with a skull bomb. Oh yeah, those are a thing by the way, they're literally just a grenade made of a skull. Don't worry about it. But with our flashback over, it's revealed that during that whole thing, Gat and Deidre just blew through the woods and have made it to the desert. Deidre asks us to go find some food and we set off to hunt, and I've got to say, this is my favorite area in the game. Just the ambience.
It's oximeter.
Another detail I love is just the world building. In this desert area, you can find an abandoned caravan. There were people here. What were they doing? Where were they going? What kind of lives did they live? I think the fact that everything in this world is so strange makes it all the more interesting when you find little mundane details like this. Anyway, Gat hunts down these weird anteater things, and once we bag 3, we make our way back to Deadra as the sun goes down. Although we're about to find out that she's not quite alone.
I may be blind, but I know I'm aiming at her brain. You have a powerful family, Gat. They offer a handsome reward for your head. You know, they told me I had to kill her too.
Don't!
Meet me back at where those monsters are, and I will leave her.
Gat's family has sent a mercenary to kill us, and we have to do what he says if we want Deadra to live. Making our way back to the open area, the hunter takes a sniping position on top of one of the behemoths, and strangely, he throws us a rifle to use against him. Plus, instead of shooting at us directly, he uses, rats. Or the Xenozoic equivalent of rats. Yeah, this world-class mercenary's pro strategy for taking us out is to throw rats at us with TNT strapped to them.
Stupid rat!
The strategy for this fight isn't hard, you just have to shoot the hunter on top of the animal, and if he shoots any of the fuses on the rats, you just have to kick them away before they explode. Anyway, the hunter's misplaced arrogance eventually gets him hurt, and the animal he's on throws him off into the nearby lake. Deadra comes running over and asks Gat about how all of this started, and you know what that means? Flashback, baby! In the flashback, we take control of Gat 2 days before the game starts. Metamok blowing himself to smithereens, I guess, snapped Gat out of being a Corwood, and he went back to Houston. Not to rejoin his family, but to investigate his family a little more closely. At this point, we don't really know why Gat is suspicious in the first place, but it doesn't really matter, since all of this could be considered the inciting event for the whole game. So Gat goes to a bar run by the Northern Gate gang. As you might be able to tell, they're a gang that hang around the Northern Gate of Houston. Genius. This is another thing I love about Houston. It's just a metropolis of strange looking buildings and clumped together stuff. It looks like no one would actually live here, and yet you've got organizations like the Northern Gate Gang and Father Mother's family. I just love that the game just does not care if you understand or not. You've just stepped into this world that was supposedly living and breathing a long time before you booted up the game. But yeah, Gat tries to enter the bar and there's a password he needs to get inside. But luckily he makes a deal with this woman to bring her some thieves that had stolen from her in exchange for the password. Being the always eager for a punch-up protagonist we are, we accept and head outside to find that the thieves are literally hanging outside the establishment they just robbed.
Did you get us some booster blood?
They aren't gonna give me none.
You know, I found some stuff in the sewers. Think I could trade them in the market.
Don't know.
Normal person conversation. We're confronted by the leader of the thieves who looks uncannily similar to Rumpelstiltskin from Shrek 4, and he tries to rob us too.
You have a lot of stuff, eh? What are you carrying?
Delivering Stiltskin to the woman, she gives us the password and we enter what passes for a bar in Houston. The human-sized rat at the other end of the table asks us what we're here for, and Gat asks to see Father Mother. The human rat agrees to show us where they are and tells us to follow him. But we do get a chance to explore the bar before we do, and man, is this really a bar? Do people actually come here for a good time? I mean, this guy with a kettle on his head seems to be having an alright time holding his chain, I guess. Anyway, human-sized rat leads us out back where this elephant-sized elephant man is talking to Father Mother. He recognizes Gat, and Father Mother seems to almost be afraid of him. We get into a fight with the thing whose name is Delnother, and as expected, we beat the ever-loving daylights out of him. Some more rat people show up to fight us, and we give them the same treatment. After everyone's down for the count, Gat talks to Father Mother.
Why did you think I'd want to hurt you? Why couldn't I come here?
He didn't know. But why are you here? It's too late now. You must go away. Go away with your new family, the Corwins. You cannot stay with us anymore.
So yeah, Father Mother's got something to hide, and honestly they kind of self-reported here since Gat didn't even know anything was up until this point. Back in the present day, Gat and Deidre have made it to the Endworld. Yes, that's what it's really called. It's this weird landscape of darkness and shadows, kind of like an artist was drawing a picture and just kind of gave up near the end. Moving forward, we can find a torch which acts as our only defense from the enemies that populate this area. Enemies known as the Shadows, and just from their models, they look like they're made of twisted dark ribbons, and when you damage them, they almost sound metal-like. Weathering the storm, Deidre and Gat make it to the temple. However, Deidre gets locked outside and we have to continue alone. Inside the temple, there's more shadow people, and our objective is to restore power to the structure by protecting these candles from the shadows. After completing that, the power is fully restored to the temple and all the doors open, allowing Deidre to reunite with us. The power also switches on a device that wakes up a being sitting on the central throne. This being introduces himself as Gollum and shows he has some sort of omniscient ability, knowing all about Gat and Deidre. He offers to help resolve the conflict between Father, Mother and Gat, and together we leave to go back to Halston. The next level isn't really a level, but more an exposition dump. Gollum rows a boat down a river towards Halston, and apart from a few enemies that attack the boat, this section is mostly to explain what Gollum is. He explains that he was created by a long extinct civilization to bring peace if future generations were ever in need of guidance. He also explains that he knows Father Mother's secret that Gat isn't telling Deidre. Gollum also doesn't tell Deidre, but he believes that the secret is something that should be rectified. And that's about it. It's pretty much the Half-Life 1 tram ride except for a boat. In the next level, we're back in the woods and we decide to set up camp, and once again Gat goes hunting. Although like all our hunting trips, they end in disaster and Father Mother's children find us. And if that wasn't bad enough, the Corwids also attack our camp at the same time. After we survive the onslaught, Gollum decides that we should take the coastal road to avoid more of the family. And on the way, Deidre asks to explain why exactly we're being hunted. And Gat obliges in another flashback. See, to get close to Father Mother, Gat had to go through the sewers of Halston, and this is the exact area that made me want to make a video on this game. This area is just so weird. Why are there faces on the wall? What are these plant things that live down here? If there are sewers in Halston, does that mean that there's an organization that maintains them? I think that last question might give you all a little bit too much insight into how I think, and I don't like that you all know that now. Moving up into the city streets, everything is quiet for the night, and I just love the vibe of Halston. It's just so out of order. You can tell that there's history behind everything here, and yet the history is just lost on us because we don't understand the rhyme or reason for anything in this world. Gat manages to get to Father Mother's house, but we get made and we have to fight a ton of characters that we've already beat up a couple times. But punching their faces in one more time lets us continue forward, where we catch up to Father Mother.
You feel what I've done is unfair, God, but I let you go away. Why did you have to come back?
In the boss fight, Father Mother is a bit of a pushover since she only has a couple of moves. Pretty much the big strategy is to just shoot his big stupid legs until she falls over and then beat the crap out of him. Doing that a couple of times, we get one of those sequences where even though you absolutely destroyed a boss fight, they still manage to beat you in a cutscene.
You were my son, God. You were my son. Of all my children.
Oh, they're going to have to glue you back together in hell!
And that brings us full circle to the start of the game, where we saw this same cutscene. Back in the present, Gat, Gollum and Deidre have made it to the coast, where we meet a woman nurturing a pig. Talking to her, we find that she's convinced that this pig is actually her human son, and Gollum asks us to remember her later on. He also tells us that someone has been following us and asks us to go to the beach to fight them. Also, yes, Gollum is playing with a Rubik's Cube. I don't know. I got no answers for you. Heading down to the beach, we reach a small bay where we begin to hear a familiar voice.
I can hear you.
Stupid rat!
The voice reveals himself to once again be the hunter, and he takes a sniping position atop this giant whale-like creature that I think might be based off a, how do I say this? Helicoprian. Helicopterian. Boss fight goes about the same way as last time, and once we shoot the hunter off the whale, he retreats back to the area Golem is.
Thought I was gone already? You're a good shooter, but how well can you fight?
We begin to go hand to hand against the hunter, with the hunter only using one hand. It's tough, but once we do enough damage, the hunter begins to give a shit and starts fighting two-handed, which is kind of when everything goes downhill.
Fuck American pride! Fuck the media!
Luckily, before the hunter has a chance to kill us, Golem comes to our rescue.
Ah!
Who are you? There is no one I can...
Moving on, we finally make it back to the gates of Houston, and we get into a fight with pretty much every NPC you fought in the game so far, and I'm not kidding. You have rat people, these two weirdos, big elephant man, big beaver man, frizzy herd girl.
Pop quiz. How long does it take to beat a moron to death? Bam! Sorry, time's up. You're dead.
A literal caveman, father, mother, wait, what?
He didn't know.
Yeah, so after fighting our way through Houston, it's revealed that Father Mother is actually still alive, and tells the family to stand down. Following Father Mother, she tells us it's fight night and she's going to teach us a lesson, because that went so well last time. And this boss fight is virtually the same as the previous Father Mother boss fight, with the exception that extra enemies just jump in to help her every now and then. But really, since it's all the same fight, it's just as easy as last time. And after beating her, we get another cutscene.
This is a problem.
Behind you! No! Ugh.
Gat tells Father Mother that he just wants peace and isn't going to tell her secret.
Cat wouldn't tell you Father Mother has a secret, but I will. Things are going to change here. Father Mother is neither your father nor your mother.
Golem then explains that Father Mother isn't a creature that's both male and female, but just a male creature that's been kidnapping babies for years and raising them as his own. Remember that woman that thought her son was a pig? Well, turns out Father Mother actually kidnapped her real son and replaced him with a piglet. Golem tells the family that he's going to change things in Houston, and with that, Golem completes his Rubik's Cube. The game then ends with another Golem-like creature at the end of the world, also with a completed Rubik's Cube. I'm guessing all of you have one question on your minds. What does any of this mean? Well, the truth is, it means nothing. As I've been writing this script, I've kind of been formulating theories on what could be going on in the world of Xenoclash, but now that I've reached the end, I've kind of come to the realization that it doesn't matter. I don't think this world was meant to be analyzed literally or even analyzed through the lens of what we consider normal. It's clear that this world has a deeper story going on within it, but as for why the world is the way it is, well, I think it's just like that because it's always been like that. Now I know it's obvious that this game alone isn't meant to tell a story. There's actually a Xenoclash 2 and even a third game that just came out called Clash Artifacts of Chaos, and you know...
Don't care, don't care, don't care, still don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care!
Look, I might be the outlier here, but something about this game not giving answers is kind of endearing to me. It just goes back to my whole bowling alley comparison. The world you saw those bowling pins and bowling balls inhabit was unapologetically nonsensical. And that's what's kind of intriguing about it, at least to me. And that feeling extends to Xenoclash. Every environment feels familiar, like you've seen it before, almost homey, cozy. But there's always just something a little off, a little weird, and the fact that none of it's ever explained is very charming to me. this world is just one we're visiting. It runs by its own logic whether we understand it or not, and at that point all we can do is really just take it in rather than trying to understand it. And that's why these sequels don't interest me at all. These sequels are made to expand more on the game's world, and in this case I just don't find myself wanting to understand the world. It's just a beautiful, nonsensical mess, and that's all I've got to say about it. Hey guys, B4 Brandos here. Thanks for watching the video. If you've watched this far into it, then you're my favorite person of today, because it means a lot to me that someone would want to hear me talk for 40 minutes or so. So yeah, if you are one of my 8 subscribers currently, you might be wondering why I haven't been uploading all that frequently. I think the last one I did was, what, 9 days ago? But the truth is, I'm just juggling projects at the moment, so I'm just kind of slowing down and maintaining the quality of my videos. Thus being said, I do have a lot of projects for YouTube in the works. BioShock. I was going to make a video on the BioShock series, but I got to Burial at Sea and I kind of realized that the whole video I wanted to make was BioShock the perfect story, but Burial at Sea ruins the story. As you can see, that kind of opens up a whole new can of worms for potential videos, so that's definitely still in the cards. System Shock Remake, there's definitely going to be a video about that because I'm very excited for that game. I don't know what it's going to be about yet, but I'll think of something. Third, Mark Echo's Getting Up, Contents Under Pressure. That's a game that's very close to my heart, and it actually would have been released before this Zeno Clash video, but my OBS messed up the audio and the gameplay, so I had to replay through the game over again. Anyway, those will all be coming out soonish. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, it really helps, and I'll see you next time.